All right. Good morning, everyone. My name is Daryl Franklin. I am one of the instructors here at Big Hairy Dog. Today, we're going to take a look at using accounts receivable with Retail Pro and using Account Link with QuickBooks to record those accounts receivable charges in our accounting software. We're going to take a look at how AR charges are done in Retail Pro. We'll look at setting up some system preferences. We'll look at setting up charge tender. We'll take a look and make sure that we have a POA or a payment on account for making payments on those AR charges. In Account Link, we'll take a brief look at how to set up Account Link. We'll take a look at how to link customers from Retail Pro to our accounting software. We'll look at how to read a receipt batch, how to post that batch, how to import that batch into QuickBooks, and how we can apply payments to invoices in our QuickBooks accounting. So we're going to start out here with our Retail Pro. We're going to go from there. We're going to go from our Retail Pro to our options over here on the side menu. We're going to select System Preferences. We're going to go down to Local Preferences. From there, we will go down to Point of Sale. Under Point of Sale, we'll go to General. Under General, we will go to Fees and Shipments, and we will make sure that we have a POA fee set up so that we can make those payments on account when a customer comes in to pay for the items that they have charged. I've got it set up to require a customer on a POA, and we've made sure that that fee is set up as active. Under tenders, we're also going to go and we are going to choose requirements, and we're going to make sure that we have the charge tender set up to be used with sales and also returns, and that when you do a charge tender, you must have a customer first name and last name, as well as phone number for that customer record. Back up here under General, under Options, I also want to make sure that down here I have Limit Charge to AR customers only. That way, if a customer is not set up as an AR customer, it will not allow you to charge anything to that account. So with those settings all set up, I'll update my system preferences. Under Customers, Customer Management, I have a field called Exported to AR that says a customer who is marked yes or export is eligible to be a charge customer. If they are not marked as yes or export, they cannot do any charges. When you first set up a customer to be an AR charge customer, you want to be sure to mark them as export. Once you have marked them as export, export tells the system they need to send this customer over to your QuickBooks accounting so that that customer is listed in QuickBooks as an AR customer. Once it has entered that customer in QuickBooks accounting, it will change that from export to yes. And so either export or yes can both do AR charges. No's cannot. You can also add that field to the form view so that you've got it here as well. All right. So that takes care of our customers. We're now set up and we're able to do accounts receivable. So we'll start out by going to receipts. We will create a new receipt. In that new receipt, we are going to add an item. So I'm going to add an item. When I add that item, I want to charge that item. Before I can charge the item, I must put a customer on the receipt. So I need to choose a customer to make this charge. So from my list of customers, I'm going to choose Sean, and I will add him to the receipt as my charge customer. I've got my total. I've got my grand total. I need to choose how I'm going to pay for it. So I'm going to go to Tender. Under Tender, I want to choose Charge. When I choose Charge, I've got a default of net 30 days, and I've got my total amount that is going to be paid. I'm going to say OK, and it will tender that as a charge, and I can save and print it, or I can simply save it. I'm just going to save it since you wouldn't be able to see it if I printed it anyway. So I now have created a charge. I also want to create a payment on account. So again, I'm going to add a customer to my sales receipt, and I'm going to choose Bob here. And Bob wants to make a payment on his account. I'm going to come down here to fee name, and I'm going to add the amount Bob's going to pay. Bob is going to pay $500. I'll choose Tender, and it says, what kind of fee is it? It's a POA, a payment on account. Bob is going to pay that with a check, and his check number is 52874. And I'll save that. I've got my receipt all balanced out, and again, I will update that receipt. So I've now created a charge and a payment. And of course, you can do a whole day's worth of sales. But for this particular webinar, we're going to just do the one simple charge and the simple payment. I will then go over to my account link. In account link, I want to make sure, how do I set up account link? So I'm going to go to Options. I'll go to Preferences. Under Preferences, the first thing I have to do is tell account link what kind of software I'm going to be using for my payments, or for my accounting. I am using QuickBooks. I've got GL, AR, and AP, or accounts payable. Under GL accounts, I'm using flexible accounts. That means that account link is going to look at the account names. It doesn't care about the account numbers. For QuickBooks, under GL, I've got what tender types I accept. Under Accounts Receivable, I have a charge payment. And I've also got Amazon listed here as a charge payment as well. And I've got POA for payment on account for the way I'm going to receive those payments. I'm set up with my addresses. I'm going to enter items by customer's last name, first name. Accounts payable, I really don't care about that at the moment, but I've got to set it up. I have set it up so that it tracks the customer's address as well. Under system options, I normally set it up so that there are three kinds of batches you can have in AccountLink. You can have a preview batch, which all you can do is look at it and throw it away. And I've told the system to keep those preview batches for up to 15 days before it throws them away, if I don't throw them away prior to that. I've also told it to keep posted batches for 90 days. The other type of batch you can have is a marked batch. A marked batch is the way you typically are going to read your batches from Retail Pro over to AccountLink, is through a marked batch. After you examine the marked batch and decide that it looks good, you post that batch, and it becomes a posted batch. If for some reason there's something that's wrong with that batch that you want to go see if you can fix it in Retail Pro, you would unmark that batch. After you unmark it, it becomes a preview batch. Then you can delete the batch, go over to Retail Pro, fix whatever you need to fix, reread the batch, and post it once you've got it all squared away. We also need to set up the AccountLink so that it knows we're using QuickBooks and where we want to put our QuickBooks data. Typically, we're going to tell it that we want to put the batches from AccountLink in a folder called RQB data. But on my computer, it happens to be the D drive instead of the R drive. That's really kind of irrelevant as long as we know exactly where it's going to. For accounts payable, whenever I read over a voucher, I want it to give me the voucher number in the store. Vouchers are going to go to accounts payable. Returns are going to come out of accounts payable. And my actual batch is going to go through AP clearing. And with QuickBooks, I can tell it to automatically update vendors, which means if I add a new vendor to my QuickBooks or to my Retail Pro, it's going to automatically mark that vendor as export, and it's going to send it over to my QuickBooks accounting. When those vendors come over, they're going to come over as the vendor name and underscore the letter V and the vendor code. With accounts receivable, I'm going to bring over the receipt number. My accounts receivable is going to go through my accounts receivable account. Payments will also go to the accounts receivable account, as well as returns will come out of the accounts receivable account. But in order to get those items into the accounts receivable account, they're going to go through AR clearing, because QuickBooks and AccountLink cannot post directly into accounts receivable or accounts payable. So therefore, both of them go through a clearing account. When they go into the clearing account, they give you the grand total of the batch for either accounts receivable or accounts payable. It then takes out any of the invoices or payments or credits that might have been given. And after it's done that, you should end up back at 0. And if you do, then everything is good. If not, we highly recommend that you give us a call right away, and we will help you figure out why your accounts payable or accounts receivable clearing is not 0. I've also got my AR set up to automatically update customers. When you create a new customer in Retail Pro, those customers are not automatically marked as accounts receivable, because most of your customers probably will not be accounts receivable customers. If a customer is going to be accounts receivable, that's when you go into that AR field and you mark them as export to say, send this over to QuickBooks. And if it goes over, the automatically update says it's going to read that new customer or new vendor out of the batch, and it will post that new customer or vendor to your QuickBooks accounting so that you've got a place to put that information. For the customers, we're going to have the customer's last name, a comma, the customer's first name, and underscore the letter C and their customer ID out of Retail Pro. All right. For GL, we don't have any settings to set. Back up here, I'm going to go to Store Account Manager. Store Account Manager is where I tell it how many stores I have and where I want the information to go when it comes out of Retail Pro. Where do I want it to go to in my accounting software? And I can map my cash, checks, credit cards, all to wherever I want it to go. I've got mine all set up to go to undeposited funds. I can set up gift cards, gift certificates. Where's my store credit going to go? Store credit adjustment, customer deposits, sales, sales discounts, receipt transaction discounts, sales tax. Sales tax also has to go to a special account because Account Link will not let QuickBooks will not let Account Link post directly into the sales tax payable account that already exists in QuickBooks. So we have to do a new account, and I always do sales tax payable -RPRO. It can post into that one. We have any of our receipt fees set up. I've got my POA fee set up to go to AR clearing. We go on down. Inventory is going to adjust the inventory field. Cost of goods will adjust cost of goods sold. Tender rounding will adjust merchandise sales. Inventory for vouchers is going to adjust inventory. Voucher discounts will adjust purchase discounts. Sales tax again will go to sales tax. And we scroll on down through our voucher fees to accounts payable. And accounts payable is going to go to AP clearing. And then we have inventory rounding. It's going to go to inventory. Slips will also go to inventory, as will memos. And they will all make their appropriate adjustments. Okay. Any questions so far? All right. So, with my account link all set up, I am ready to read a batch. To read a batch, I'm going to go to Batches. And since we're dealing with accounts receivable, that's going to be a receipt batch. It falls under my sales items. If it was merchandise from my vendors, it would fall under vouchers, and I would read in my invoices from my vendors. Slips would be anything I'm sending out to another store, or memos would be adjustments I make to my inventory that don't involve a slip, voucher, or receipt. So I'm going to choose receipts. I'm going to go over to read. I created those receipts today, so I want today's date as the name of the receipt batch. I'm going to put today's date as the starting date for reading this batch, and I will also put today's date as the ending date for reading this batch. I've told it to create a separate batch for each store. In case I have more than one store, it will separate the sales for each store. I do an OK. It goes over to Retail Pro and looks and sees what happened. And it brings over a summary of my Retail Pro. It shows me here that I had a charge for $173.44. And if I come down here under AR clearing, I also see that I had a payment for $500. I can say I had a check for that $500. I can see my cost of goods, and I can see my inventory adjustment, as well as my sales tax. So everything looks good. If I go to list, I can see the listing for the charge and for the payment. I'm going to go back over to form, and I'm going to post that batch. Posting that batch will create an IIF file. That's an Intuit interchange file that I can then import into my QuickBooks accounting to add that accounts receivable and any other sales I may have had to my QuickBooks. I've got today's date. I'm going to say OK. That batch has been posted. Then I will run off down to my QuickBooks accounting. In QuickBooks accounting, I want to post that batch. So I'm going to go up here to File. I'm going to go to Utilities. I'm going to go to Import, IIF file. I'll click OK. Now, if you happen to be using the two newer versions of QuickBooks Accounting, version 19 or version 2020, you'll get another little pop-up. That other little pop-up has a screen on there that says Import IIF file. Don't click on that button. Right below it, in a small underlined text, is Do It For Me. Click on that small underscored text. That will then open up another dialog box that says Back or Import. There, you'll click on the Import IIF, and then you will get your list of stuff to import. If you click on the Import IIF from the very first screen, it is going to give you an error. Because with version 2019, Intuit changed the way they look at IIF files, and they're looking for some kind of date code, which does not exist in the file from AccountLink, so it gives you an error that it is a bad IIF file. If you use the Import It For Me, then you won't have that issue. It'll work just great. So you want to find the file you want to import. Well, that was the one I did last time. I want to take that one. I want to put it away in imported batches. This is my new one. It's got today's date on it. I will select that one. I'll say Open. It says that Sean has a charge. If I do that, his balance is going to be, do I want to continue? Yes, I do. And that's been imported. I got that message because I don't have a credit limit set on my accounts receivable customers, because I like to see that pop up, because that tells me I had an AR charge on that receipt or in that batch. Whenever you have an AR charge, it's important to go to Chart of Accounts and look at AR clearing. AR clearing should always be 0. If it's not 0, then you know something did not come over correctly. If you're doing vouchers, AP clearing should always be 0. So back up here on AR clearing. If I double click on AR clearing, it will show me a list of my AR stuff I've done. So here's my new batch I just ran in. It shows me that I had $500 as a payment, and I had $173.44 as a charge. I can see down here, here is the charge that Sean did. I can see here, here's the payment that Bob made, and I end up back at 0. You should always be at 0 when you start a batch, at 0 when you end a batch. As long as you are, then you know all of your AR went over great. I can go to my customers. I can look at Sean, and I can see here is the charge that Sean did today. If I look at Bob, I can see here's the payment that Bob did. Typically, when I'm working with AR, I also like to go up here to Reports, come down here to Customers and Receivables, go to Open Invoices, and I can see all the invoices that have been created. I can see any payments that have been made. And so with Bob and his payment here, I can open up the previous invoices. I'll start with the oldest one, and I'll double click on it. I'll apply credits. I've only got the $500 there, so it's going to choose to apply that to that one. That invoice is now paid instead of past due. I can save and close that. I can select the other one. Again, I can go apply credits. It will select it because there's only one credit out there. If I had multiple credits, I would need to select which ones I want to apply to that particular invoice. I say done. That one is still marked as past due because Bob still owes $20.32. I'll do a save and close, and I can see my outstanding accounts receivable. You might have noticed the number 1 here beside record deposits. That says I have a deposit pending in my undeposited account, and that is the check that Bob wrote. I can select it, say OK, come over here to my checking, but I want to apply that. If I want to, I could come here to payment method, and I could select that was a check, and I can save and close, and it will put that deposit in my checking account. And so that is using Accounts Receivable and Retail Pro, making a payment in Retail Pro, making sure that Retail Pro is set up to handle Accounts Receivable, going to Account Link, making sure your Account Link is set up correctly, reading a batch, posting that batch, and tracking your Accounts Receivable in your QuickBooks Accounting. If you're not using QuickBooks Accounting, it's also possible to set up Account Link to work with Sage BusinessWorks or Sage 100. All right. Any questions? I don't hear any questions. And so that is all I have. Hope everybody got something that is going to be useful to them. If you have any questions, just give us a call, 916-368-1070. Again, that's Daryl at Big Hairy Dog, 916-368-1070. You can also drop me an email to Daryl at Daryl F at bighairydog.com. That's DARRELLF like Frank at bighairydog.com. And I will do my best to answer that email. If I can't figure out how to answer the email, I will give you a call so that we can discuss whatever your question may be. So, since I don't see any questions, that's all I've got. If anything comes up, again, give us a call or drop me a note, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.